Welcome back to another episode on Journey to Authenticity, the podcast designed to help you become fully authentic, ultimately transform your life, and step into a life of impact. I'm Braiden Belnap, a transformational life coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and the host of this podcast. I'm here to help you break through those limiting beliefs, ultimately rewrite your story to transform and live the life that you deserve. But the question is what if enjoying your life feels so out of reach? What if creating that dream, creating that vision doesn't feel doable? That's exactly why we have Dallin Rogers coming on. At the age of 25, he racked up credit card debt and started this company called FitCon. It wasn't even FitCon to begin with. He created this idea of a business that didn't work out, and that's where FitCon became a reality. And through a couple years of working hard with him and his wife and his partners, he sold. And at that moment, he hit a wall. He hit the outcome that he was looking for so long. He didn't enjoy it the way that he envisioned. And in turn, he dug deep. He really asked himself who he wanted to be, what he wanted to do. And today he's living out that life, still going through transformations as we're always becoming. But he is happy on this journey called life. With that in mind, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's good to have you on. There's a lot that I look up to you for. One of them is the brand that you built, FitCon. What initially inspired you to start that brand?
Yeah, it actually started out as something completely different. I'd finished playing football at the University of Utah, and we started a sports performance training facility in Lehigh. And then I went back to school and I was getting my master's degree in business. And during that time, I started what was called Utah's Top Trainer. And I thought it was a really cool idea. And I was going to get all the trainers in Utah and do a competition to see who was Utah's top trainer. And terrible idea. But out of that, during that time process, our sports performance training facility won what was called Best of State in Utah when Best of State first started. And I remember we were at the banquet and we had to pay money to apply and we had to pay money to be at the banquet. And I'm looking around at all these companies and I'm like, people are paying money to be here to get some award that doesn't mean anything. That it's just a panel of people who get points. Like no one knows anything. So it was really interesting. And so it got my mind going on running events and how companies would pay money to either win awards or sponsor or get promotion. And it kind of cycled into Utah's Top Trainer of let's hold an award banquet for Utah's top trainer, generate revenue that way. That fizzled out. But then it got continued into, well, let's look at an expo format. So got going down the line of how do we start this? And I was like, well, one speaker I would love to hear from would be Ray Lewis. I'd love to hear him in person and see how he speaks and his passion and how he communicates. And so anyways, I was like, well, let's book Ray Lewis. So put Ray Lewis down on a credit card, booking fee, and started FitCon and had no idea what I was doing or where I was going and just kind of rolled with the punches.
And the journey began.
How
was the first event? Like, how did that go?
The first event, I always tell people this story, was one of the most surreal experiences I think that I have ever been a part of. And I honestly don't wish it upon anybody, but at the same time, it totally transformed everything about me. So with events, a lot of times, especially in the expo world, you put a lot of deposits down. So deposits on speakers, deposits on venues, deposits on AV, deposits. So there's a lot of deposits due when you sign contracts. Well, the remainder of everything is either due at the event or, within 30 days, net 30 of the event. And in the world of expos, 90% of ticket sales come day of. And I didn't know that. So I vividly remember the day of our first expo, we had all these speakers, we had all these competitions, all these vendors, and I'm floating everything on credit cards, crossing my fingers. And I remember we opened the doors and no one came. And so I went back to our little booth area that we had, like our private booth, and I called my wife and I was like, Victoria, come on back. We got to figure out how we're going to pay people back because there's no way we're making enough money on ticket sales to even come close. It was the scariest moment of my life. I mean, I was 25, 26, and you literally just have all this money out on cards and nothing coming in. Stupid business plan. Don't ever do it. Okay. But I remember an hour later, I'm like, Victoria, where are you? where are you? I called her. She's like, I can't get back there. There's so many people. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I remember I walked out the door and I opened the door and the aisles were just packed with people. And I was like, what just happened in an hour? So it was one of the most surreal like shifts from survival to abundance in a matter of an hour. And so that's kind of what launched it. And kind of also what set, like, that's a huge adrenaline rush. So it gets you addicted too.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm putting myself in your shoes. Launching an event, nobody's showing up, stress, probably some frustration and anger, like, oh my goodness, what the heck was I thinking?
More than that, yeah.
Definitely more than that.
Well, it's hard too because companies pay you money to promote the product at the event. So, there's a huge side of it. I not only let my family down, but let all 100 vendors in here down, So there was a lot of emotion, but somehow it all worked out.
Absolutely. So I assume you were able to pay yourself back and some. Is that fair?
Not the first year. We made enough to put it on the second year, and then it started to flip after that year. So
that's amazing. So you started here in Utah, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What was the process like going into other states?
Unique. We're unlike every other event in the country. When COVID happened, every event shut down. We actually expanded during COVID. So we didn't start going to other states until COVID hit, which is completely opposite from everybody else. So when COVID hit, what happened was, same situation. We're at the Salt Palace. We're 1 month away from our event. It's in April. And all of our deposits are due. We're rolling, we're ready, But again, ticket sales come the week of. COVID hits, Salt Palace gets turned into a testing center. So they email us or call us and say, hey, sorry, your event's done. We're not hosting your event this year. So I'm out hundreds of thousands of dollars because most of the money comes back and we make our profit the week of. And I was like, I literally can't run my event. I have no idea what to do. Right. And so what ended up happening was we found a park in Lehigh and we took it outdoors, and we took our event outdoors and we ran it outdoors. And what I found was, our revenue wasn't as high, but our profit was the highest it's ever been because our expenses were so astronomically low compared to the Salt Palace. So when you do an event at the Salt Palace or convention centers, you have booking fees, you have union fees, you have cleanup fees, you have AV fees. Like, you have all of these fees associated with running an event in a convention center that just add up astronomically. We ran it in a park. So like our expenses were astronomically lower. And so there was an interesting business model of, okay, we could take this outdoors. And what it allowed us to do, because the barrier of entry was so little, we could take it to Florida, Texas. We could take it to Florida. So we started to expand to Texas and Florida during COVID.
So COVID was a blessing for you.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah, it was. It was. There was a lot of learning experiences, but it definitely leveraged us to expand.
Absolutely. So was FitCon the way you ran it in Utah the same way you would run it in a different state, just different sponsors that are local to that state, I would assume? Or
we had national sponsors that traveled with us, quite a few, but it was local to that event. I'll say Texas was probably more of a concert setting, right? We had like live music and, concerts. Tommy Vex performed for us and things like that. But yeah, a lot of our sponsors traveled with us, but I would say 50% of it is local to that city.
Absolutely. So with that, I'm assuming you've had some hardships, like the hardships turned into good. Nobody showing up the first hour, your event getting canceled at the Salt Palace, businesses at Rainbows and Unicorns. What was the hardest time for you in business that you were challenged with, that you had to overcome?
I mean, the hardest time for me, no question, was actually when I first started and I had a lawsuit hit me. That was out of my control. So that was a very, very scary time in my life because, you're 25 and you get sued by someone who has multi-millions and for nothing, and someone who has more money than you threatens that. It's very scary, very scary, even though there was nothing.
Sure. How did you talk about, just having a kid, being married, how did that affect your family dynamic at the time?
It's interesting. I look back and I'm a firm believer that your state is the most important thing that you can control. Because if you're in an abundant state, if you're in a very present state, if you're in a high energy capacity, then every challenge that happens isn't really a challenge. It's really something, it's everything is conspiring for you in life. So now it all comes down to my energy and what state I'm in. I didn't understand that when I was 25. And so I think what that did was always put me in a very low vibrational state consistently. And when you're in a low vibrational state, you're an energy suck, you know? And so I think that was probably the thing that people could feel my fear. People could feel my, I wouldn't say depression, but I'm sure there was some depression associated with it. But I think at the same time, it was also a cool period of like people showing kindness and helping me too. So a little bit of both.
Absolutely. It's very clear and prominent to me, whether you're 25 or where you're at now, that when you see whatever's in front of you, that you create a plan and you do what's necessary to overcome that. In today's world, today's moment, FitCon to build brands, obviously you're not with FitCon anymore. How do you stay aware and not on your toes in quickly making decisions that actually create results for you?
Yeah, it's easy. It comes down, for me, this is the advice I would give every young entrepreneur or any entrepreneur, is there's a very, very big difference between dreaming and what I call tingling. Okay. Now, I have worked with some really, really successful entrepreneurs that you've had on this show, and they've taught me a whole bunch, and it's fascinating. If I ever went to some of my previous partners and said, hey, like, what do you want in life? They would be able to tell me exactly what they want. Clearly, specifically, super defined. And that is the superpower that I found in life that a lot of young entrepreneurs or people stuck in what I call like just the rat race of entrepreneurship, you're on just a treadmill going nowhere, is they lack the ability, to know what they want in life and in business. They're not clear on what they want, and they don't tingle about it. So there's a huge difference between dreaming and tingling, okay? Dreaming is like, yeah, it feels good. You know, oh, I really want that car. I really want X, Y, and Z, right? But when you close your eyes, can you see it? Like, can you feel it? Can you smell it? Is it so real to you that it makes you tingle inside? Now, when you have a tingle, call it tingle time, that people need to focus more time on that than they actually do the grind and the process. And this is probably where I differ from a lot of those guests, is they're very grind focused, like work. I say tingle first, dream first, and then the work is easy and the work is effortlessly happens, and you can make decisions quickly. Where the grind comes in is when you're not aligned with what you want in life. That's when it's grind, and that's when it's hard. And so that's a story that people tell themselves, is I have to grind in order to be successful. No, you don't. I actually believe it completely the opposite. If you're grinding, it's going to take you longer to be successful. Align first, focus on what you want and dream and tingle. Then the decision-making and the alignment and the process and the work necessary to accomplish that is very easy. You can make quick decisions. You know what you're doing. You're actually moving forward to your goal, as opposed to just sitting here on a treadmill because you think you're trying to accomplish X, Y, and Z, but really you're not aligned with it. So that would be the biggest advice I would give anybody.
Yeah, you're working backwards. You know what you want, what you need.
What you want, not what you need. There's a big difference.
What you want, not what you need.
Because if you always just focus on what you need, then you're going to get what you need.
You're in survival mode.
You're in survival mode.
Yeah, need is your basics. Food, water.
So a lot of people
housing.
say, I don't need that. Okay. Well, what do you need? You only go after what you need in life?
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because this is what I'm thinking. Everybody gets what they need. Not everybody gets what they want. So what if you turn your want into a need?
So I like that, but I also disagree with that. Everybody gets what they need, and everybody gets what they want if they're aligned. Okay, so I'm woo-woo. If you're aligned and you're tingling with what you want, it will happen. Okay. If you aren't aligned with it, but you say you want something, it won't. You don't get what you want.
That's powerful.
Okay.
1,000%.
And there's a huge difference. You can't tell me a time, and I'll ask you, actually, I'll reframe a question back to you. Has there been something in your life where you're like, you can feel it, you can see it, you can smell it so clearly, and it has not happened?
Absolutely.
Really?
But as I'm thinking of that, as we're talking needs wants, right? When I've wanted something, it naturally comes to me because I'm aligned.
Correct.
And I work hard for it, but it feels good.
Correct.
But when I'm like, I need this, it's almost like you're grasping at straws to get
grasping.
there.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And so I love that reframe of like, hey, why not just keep it a want, get aligned with it. You know what you need to do, who you need to become to get there. Decisions become seamless because you know what needs to happen.
You know what needs to happen, and you're willing to invest in yourself, and you're willing to invest in other people to get you there. So yeah, I think oftentimes people focus on their needs too much. Like, well, I don't need that, or I don't want that, or I don't deserve to have that, or I don't give myself permission to have that. I'm just going to settle on what I need in life. Well, if you constantly train your unconscious mind to settle on what you need in life, then when you say, I want something, how do you ever fulfill it? How do you ever accomplish it? Because you're trained to focus on what you need in life. So that's why I say dreaming, and I will always say this, Keaton is the best dreamer I've ever met in my life. No question. So much respect for Keaton. He has this unique, it's a skill. Dreaming is a skill that people don't work on and they've never developed. And Keaton has developed that. He has this unique ability to know what he wants and dream about it and then go. And he's trained that muscle so much that it becomes second nature, that whatever he dreams about happens. And that's the part that I think is a skill set people haven't developed in entrepreneurship.
So what's your dream right now?
What's my dream?
Yeah.
That's a great question. People always ask that. And I have right now really three dreams. Let me go back and tell you where this kind of started.
Please.
Because I remember for a while, it was, go get this car, buy this car, get the Lambo, get the Ferrari. That's got to be your dream, right? That's the dream, right? And I remember, so I would focus on those things. Like, yeah, I'm doing business because I want to go buy this car, right? And I just felt it was the biggest grind. Like, it was hard to wake up and do work. Finally, when I was just like, okay, what really makes me tingle? Like, what makes me excited? You know, if I stripped away any preconceived notions or thought processes about what I should want in life, what makes me really excited? Do you know what it was? I'm curious. What would be your guess?
A couple things come to mind. You answer. I'm curious.
It was to go to, it sounds weird, but to go to Disneyland, VIP, with my family, all access in the best hotel, and just go there and just vibe at Disneyland with my family. So I don't know if you've ever done VIP Disney, but it's one of the coolest experiences. So I shifted my focus from cars to like that experience because it got me so excited. The moment I did that, it's like the universe opened and all this stuff happened, and that's what eventually led to the sale of FitCon. And it would not have happened had I focused on cars and all of that. So my dreams right now shifting to that is what I try and do is strip off what I should dream about, and I need to focus on what it is. So right now, one of our dreams is, and we'll probably do this next year because right now with kids in school, it's hard, but we want to go to Europe for the summer and put our kids into summer, because Europe has these amazing summer camps for kids, because our youngest daughter isn't quite old enough. And so have our kids go to like a summer camp and get, cultured and be with other students from different countries. So that happens during the day. So my wife and I, we could just go explore different European countries because travel is a huge part of our life. So that's one of the dreams that really makes me tingle right now, in order to do that, like the right way, how we want to do it for like 2 or 3 months at a time. So that's one dream that we have. Another dream is next step is a beach house on Newport. That's one thing that really like fires me up. Like I can just see walking outside on the boardwalk and like smelling the air, and like that's a whole nother dream. And my other dream just shifted, to be honest. I just saw an ad and I should do it, but I just saw an ad. Have you seen the new Scout Motors?
I don't think so. No.
There's some pretty rad trucks and like SUVs, and they're electric. And I saw those the other day and it kind of tingled me. So that's been on the back burner too.
That's right. Are you a big car guy?
No, not really. At all. But I like them. I don't know why. So that's what's weird is like usually cars don't drive me. They don't fire me up, but for some reason those ones look clean and I really like them.
I feel like there's even the people that aren't car guys, there's usually that one car.
There is. Well, we just saw
love
like
that.
this rad Bronco, fully restored Bronco. That was just beautiful the other day. That one got us tingling a little bit. So I don't know. I'm kind of shifting a little bit more toward that side, but I would say those are my two tingles right now.
That's powerful.
So,
and as you talk about this dreaming and tingling, I love it. I'm a big vision board guy. I have been since I was like 16 years old. And that's why I love vision boards. Is because every day you look at your vision board, you see it, you feel it, you smell it, you know what it feels like. And in turn, by emotion equals motion. Motion equals emotion. When you experience it, you feel the emotion, allowing you to show up each day, making those decisions seamlessly, leading you to that result.
So I've actually shifted away from vision boards, and because what's interesting is, so I did a big vision board event and put up all these vision pictures, and I remember I looked at everything and I was like, it overwhelmed me, and I wasn't aligned on them. I just put them up because I should have, and it actually did more damage to me, and I made really dumb decisions because it was on my vision board, and so I thought that was the only way. And so I made some pretty dumb decisions achieving those visions that I look back now and I'm like, that was really dumb and I shouldn't have. So I've shifted it to what I call a tingle board. And I only put up things on there that make me tingle. I got this from a buddy. He's a huge wealth manager, fund manager. And he calls it tingle. He actually calls it tingle board on Pinterest. So you create a Pinterest board and you just pin stuff that make you tingle inside. And so I've shifted a dream board and a vision board to what I call a tingle board, because I do think that dream boards and vision boards actually get people into more trouble because it focuses them on something that maybe they're not aligned with. And then you start the systemic cycle of grinding.
So what if, like, for example, everything on my vision board makes me tingle?
That's it. You got your tingle board.
So it sounds like you're doing... Because I agree. The typical vision board, I like, it makes me frustrated.
But see, so I'm huge on neurolinguistic programming. So like, and this is where I always help people and catch people is like, you say things like dream board, and unconsciously to you, it's just a dream board, right? But unconsciously to other people, a dream board is other people's dreams. And it actually gets them into trouble. I know someone who had a huge dream and put it on their dream board, and because... So if we could peel off another layer here, okay? What you got to understand here, and I think you're unique and different because you've gone through this process, not on purpose, but through life.
Sure.
But most people go through life and they've never stripped away, in your terms, limiting beliefs, right? But basically other people have other people's belief systems in their life. And that's just natural to everybody, whether it's friends, family, parents, church, religion, school, whatever it may be, we are filled with other people's programs. And so we actually operate unconsciously based upon other people's programming. That is true with dreaming too. If you haven't stripped away these belief systems and created beliefs on your own platform and your own agenda, and you haven't trained your unconscious mind to believe the way you want to believe, your dreams are actually other people's dreams, because what they have told you is true, you believe to be true. So when people create a dream board, it's not their dreams. It's other people's dreams that they've put on their dream board that aren't necessarily theirs. So what happens is they make really dumb decisions like I did in order to accomplish their dreams, and it's not their dreams. So there's a huge process involved that goes deeper, why I call it the tingle board, because if it's not your dream and it's just a dream board, it's not going to happen. Or B, if it does, it's going to come at a huge sacrifice to you and your family or whatever it may be.
Absolutely. And I would agree with that. And when I talk vision boards, most people go to the dream board, right?
Totally.
Go to the magazines, get XYZ, whatever you want, like just throw up on your vision board. And one, it has no purpose, no intention. And like you said, you're dreaming somebody else's dream because you, quote unquote, believe you should be like creating this movie style life.
It's a hero's journey. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. It one, like you said, either it's not going to happen or you're going to do it and you're going to be making sacrifices that truly you're not in alignment with. When in reality, if you take that concept of a vision board or tingle board, you make the tweaks and you just put up on there what you actually are in alignment with.
Correct.
You transform those limiting beliefs and you start to believe what is actually authentic for you, which allows you to build your authentic life that you so are destined to accomplish.
Correct. You see, and this is what I've learned too, is people define things differently, yet everyone believes that the definition is the same. And so this is one of the most paradigm shifting things that I learned. Was I remember where I was taught a lot of these principles. I was at a conference and we started to define terminology in our lives, because how you speak is how you think, right? And your internal reality is a reflection of your internal thought process is an external reflection of your external reality,
Sure.
right? So I remember he was like, hey, what is wealth? Define wealth. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got the best answer. Like, actually, I'm curious, what's your definition of wealth?
My definition of wealth is being able to do what I want,
when you want, how you want to do it, right?
Yep.
Okay, I thought that. I'm like, oh, I got the
With
best.
the people that I want to do it with.
Yeah. So it's like, I got this. Same definition. I'm like, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to show them how cool this is, you know? And I remember the guy next to me raised his hand, and he's worth 100 million. He raises his hand, and his definition was global impact. And I looked at him, and I was like, no wonder we're playing on two different levels right now. Because when your definition of wealth is truly global impact, how much money do you need to make in order to impact the global universe? 100 million plus.
Absolutely.
If your definition is do what I want with people I want, how much do you need to make a year? 250K, 300K, depending on what you want, right? We're playing two different levels here. And it's all based upon our internal definitions, and they're completely different. So what I started to realize was how we define terminology is how we operate our life. So going back to the dream board, you say dream board based off your definition, which is it tingles me subconsciously. But to other people, a dream board is, I throw up photos of what I should be dreaming about. You see how the systemic cycle happens? And this is the issue that I have with entrepreneurs who are grind, hustle, go. You got to do X, Y, Z. This is the only way to do it, is because no, everybody internally defines things differently. And until you define things and set a standard, how can you honestly say what is real and what isn't and what the results will be? So you have to first go backwards to define terminology in your life in order to move forward to understand where you are.
So I'm super curious. I want to keep building on that.
Yeah.
What's your definition of wealth?
My definition of wealth has changed in two ways. And please understand, it's not as simple as, let me just redefine it and then it's done. Because this is years and years of unconscious programming. So I think inherently I still result back to do what I want, when I want, with how I want to do it, with who I want to. But I'm incrementally changing that from an unconscious level to access. Because if you think about it, when you have access to things that other people don't have, you're wealthy. Whether it be relationships, whether it be money, whether it be capital, whether it be houses, whether it be whatever it may be, the terminology of access is how I've been actively redefining my definition of wealth recently. I would love to say it's global impact, but I'm not aligned with that yet in my life. But right now, access to freedom, the freedom behind it, the access to things.
Absolutely. And you were talking about, you can say one thing and 10 people are going to have 10 different, perspectives on it. When you say access, to what comes to mind is resources.
Resources.
Because in all reality, if you have the resource, anything can happen. Global impact can happen.
Correct. And I need to do a better job of defining what is resources, right? You see how deep this can get. I say resources. Well, what is resources? Now we got to start defining it deeper. But you're right. Yeah. When you have access and resources, then you're able to really live a level of freedom that most people can't. Generationally.
Absolutely. What also comes to mind here that I would love to add, and I asked you a question before the podcast, do you know how to keep a man poor? The answer is, put How to Get Rich in a book. The reality is any resource we need, we actually have access to it. We just need to realize, open our vision up to we actually have those resources. Whatever we want to accomplish, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's somebody listening, the resources are there. It may take some time to actually develop the resource or get in contact to the resource, but it is possible.
There's no such thing as an unresourceful person, but there's unresourceful states. So when you're in an unresourceful state, you're an unresourceful person. But when you're in a resourceful state and you broaden your scope and you see that life is conspiring for you and you start to align your energy, you'll find access to whatever you want, truly want.
Absolutely.
So
We go back to the wants and needs, right?
goes back to it.
Everybody gets what they need, like we talked about. You will find the resource to feed your kids. You will find the resources to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay the electricity bill. Why not start finding the resources to get what you want?
And you stemmed a thought, and because I don't like the word need. It sounds very unresourceful. Like when you need something, it's a survival state, right? And so you actually shifted like the tingle time and the dreaming. If you can create what I call future memories, right? Then it's already happened. Then it's an embedded need in your body, right? And then you find the resources for it. So I like just rephrasing terminology too. If whatever you're dreaming about or tingle about, if it's a future memory, AKA it's so real to you, it's already happened, then that want turns into a need. And then what happens when it's a need, you find resources to make it happen. So just different terminologies on how to come about the same.
Absolutely. So with that, as we're talking about all of this, your dreams, the Disneyland, that wasn't my guess, by the way.
Well,
I had a lot. It's just more like family time, like being able to camp when I want, things like that. I don't know if you're a big camper. I'm not, but I enjoy being outdoors. There's so many that went through, but Disneyland, I've never had the VIP access, which makes me want to go look into it.
But it's funny because like our lifestyle was we'd hit FitCon once a year, then we go travel Europe for like a couple months, my wife and I. Like that was our lifestyle. So traveling and experiences like was always amazing. We loved it. But for some weird reason, when I just stripped off what I thought was real Disneyland with my kids without any worries, all access, just tingled me. Like it was the weirdest experience. And inside I was just like, all right, well, let's give this a try. This sounds super weird. It should be a Ferrari or two, but it wasn't. It was that experience with that setting is what did it and moved the needle. I spent 2 years focusing on Ferraris and Lambos and got nowhere. I spent 3 months focusing on what tingled me, and I got to sell my business completely out of the blue. Don't ask me, and it might just be circumstantial, but like, when you're in the grind of it and you're focusing on what you think you want for 2 years or 3 years straight and you're literally not moving the needle and you're just on a treadmill, it's exhausting. And it was a grind and I was burnt out and I was exhausted. I shifted to what actually tingled me and like the universe opened.
The tingle for Disneyland, do your kids share that same tingle?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, they love it. Yeah. And then this year we moved to Arizona and we got, season passes and we go all the time. So, but it definitely started it. But, and this goes back to Keaton. And so there's two sides to it. There's a whole nother side because the skill of tingling is a skill that people don't develop. And this is literally the first thing the second thing, the first thing that I teach within my coaching program on how to really build entrepreneurship is to strip away any limiting beliefs based upon other people's programmings. What's that whole process? Because it's like a glass wall that's placed on us that we don't even know. Step 2 is how do you tingle? Okay. Step 3 is how do you tingle more often? And this is where Keaton is so good. I struggle with the ability, I'll find a tingle. And then once that's done, I need like a 2 or 3 month recovery period to find like the next tingle. Keaton is like tingle, 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 tingle. Like he can just stack them. And that's the speed we're talking about right there is the quicker you can stack tingles, the faster you'll move in life within your business. The slower you tingle, or if you don't tingle at all, that's the grind. That's the hustle.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Dallin, I just finished my book. I can relate with that. Once I finished that book, I was like, for 2 weeks, I couldn't find that tingle.
No.
And I didn't like the feeling. So there was just one day I was like, okay, enough's enough. Set the next goal. Really, what aligned with me? What is it that I truly want next?
Your 2 weeks is quick, man. Most people, it's longer.
Well, I mean, it's come with time, right? I'm young in this.
I don't know, how old are you?
25.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
You're way ahead of me.
I'm
When I was 25, I was in debt up to my eyes because I put everything on a credit card to start FitCon and I was getting sued. So you are way ahead of me.
I'll take it, honestly. I will take that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I aspire to obviously not accomplish what you've accomplished, but have those successes. And I genuinely
What is
believe-
success?
What is success? Well, now you got me thinking about what I want to do.
This is like, I'm asking, like, this is the interesting part is we use this language so freely. You said, what'd you say? I appreciate, or like, I really look up to your successes. Well, let me ask you, what is success?
In full vulnerability,
Yeah.
for right now, I'm still working a 9-to-5 job. I work in the finance. It pays well. I don't hate my job. I don't love it. Success to me is being able to do what I love each day that drives impact for myself, my family, and the world.
Cool. Are you doing that right now?
Actively pursuing it.
Okay. So what you are, like, you're doing, so you have a 9-to-5 job, which you like, but every day you're still working the podcast. You're still driving people. What was it? You're
driving impact for me, my family, and for the world.
You're doing it. Like, you're in that process. See, this is the interesting part. This is, if I could leave something with you, is we operate unconsciously by our definitions, and oftentimes we're at where our definitions are. So when you say, I appreciate your success, well, what you're telling me is like, I really look up to you because you're impacting yourself, your family, whatever it is. Well, you're doing the same thing right now. And see, this is the thing, is we need to start redefining terminology and how we speak on a day-to-day basis from an unconscious level. Because if you unconsciously believe that is success, that's your barometer of where you're going to go. Like, that's your limit. That's your glass ceiling, right? Because if that is your unconscious definition of success, well, you're never going to grow past that, because that's your North Star, because you want to be successful, right?
Absolutely.
So when you're successful, that means that you're impacting yourself, your family, and others, right? Well, what if we can change that definition of success to be here, unconsciously, where you believe it? Well, guess what? This stepping stone is easy. You see what I'm saying? It's just limits on our definitions. And oftentimes we hold ourselves back because of how we define terminology and how we speak every day. So if you can learn to unconsciously reprogram your definitions and believe it, this, where your current definition is literally just a stepping stone. But until you've gone back and reprogrammed that, it doesn't matter how many conferences you go to and how many people get up on stage and tell you what to do and how to fire you up, right? It does not matter, because that's your class ceiling.
What's your definition of success?
My definition of success is, it's shifted from most people's definition of success, from like a tangible side of like a monetary side. It shifted from that to what my old definition of wealth was. So success to me is having the ability to do what I want, when I want to do it, with who I want to do it. That's my definition of success. My definition of wealth is the next step, right? Which is access to whatever I need, access to whatever I want. So if I wanted to build a rocket ship, I have access to go do it, right? Two different definitions that I've shifted towards.
Absolutely. And I truly appreciate this conversation, Dallin, because my next step feels small to me. It is just a next step. That's the reality, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because I know, like you say, there's the wealth side of things and there's the success side of things. And once you really start to broaden those definitions, those quote unquote rules that we subconsciously create, we're meaning making machines as humans.
That's a great way of putting it. That's fantastic.
If we just start to transform the meaning we attach to things, our mind opens up and anything becomes.
But first you have to detach to how you were raised. Now, you've been through a lot in your life where you've probably detached sooner than other people through circumstances. And I always tell people, within learning lessons in life, you have two options. Like, you can choose to do it, or the universe can do it for you. And this is where the hero's journey comes in that we talked about. Okay. Growing up in every single movie, in every single programming, this happened to me. I remember growing up and I used to watch these old shows. It was called Beyond the Glory. And these shows were about athletes, and how they grew up. And every single one of them was, this kid grew up poor. He had to fight for everything he had. He had to grow here. But because he went through all this, he was able to get to up here. I was an athlete. Like, that was my goal. And my dream was to be a professional athlete. That, I would watch that when I was young, 8 through 15, religiously. That unconscious programming, guess what it created in me? A self-sabotaging behavior. I would self-sabotage myself and put myself in situations on purpose to go through hardships and trials because I thought the only way to get to my goal was you had to go through all these trials and tribulations. That systemic belief pattern carried over for years, and I'm still dealing with it. I still have a self-sabotaging behavior at times because of how I was raised and watching these shows. Is that true? I believed it was. Now I look back and say it's 100% not true. I could have gotten to anywhere I wanted to go, a totally different route, a much easier way. I did not have to go through that. So when we go back to what we were just talking about, which is there's 2 ways that you can do this. One, you can choose coaching. You can choose being taught by the right people. You can choose how to reprogram. You can choose to start stripping off these belief patterns consciously, and you're going to get to the next level easy and effortlessly, or the universe will do it for you. And when the universe does it for you, guess what? That's the hero's journey. It's got to put you through the refiner's fire in order to strip off these belief systems for you to become who you should be and who you want to be unconsciously. There's 2 choices.
Absolutely. What you just summed up is the fact that just humans overcomplicate everything.
Yeah.
They overcomplicate finances, relationships, life, everything.
I do want to asterisk, though, there is circumstances that's out of people's control.
Absolutely.
Right? I do. But for the most part, we're talking about day-to-day behavior. We overcomplicate everything.
And we're in more control than we actually believe we are. Or I shouldn't even attach that to myself or you. Most people feel like they are out of control, when in reality, they are in more control than they actually believe that they are. I mean, for example, and this isn't to shame anybody, but there's common times when people will say, XYZ runs in my family. This disease runs in my family. I don't get to be fit because dad wasn't, grandpa wasn't. It's they're attaching these limiting beliefs to themselves based upon what's taken place in their family. So they are out of control. I'm fat because dad was and grandpa was. I'm not eating healthy because I wasn't taught how to. But what if you were in control of that result? Just because so-and-so wasn't fit doesn't mean you can't be fit. Maybe there is certain things that you need to overcome so that you can get that result. But it's not to say that you can't. My parents went through a divorce causing XYZ limiting beliefs, and I went through the path of drugs, alcohol, petty theft. If we're looking at the typical storyline of that, I'm very well aware that usually would either be 6 feet under a jail cell, and I wouldn't change my life like 99% of the people that got into drugs at that age. I was in control of my destiny, and I chose to opt out of that and change it and created a new destiny. We are in more control than we think.
I think that that last part of what you just said, whether you believe in God or a higher power, the godly, what separates the godly, what's the right word? It's basically he's a creator. Created this world. Someone created this world. Creating is like one of the greatest godly traits that every human has inherently. The difference is some people tap into that and some people don't due to belief systems. But the creation process, creating families, creating this universe, creating a business, creating the life you want, it is so powerful that people don't understand they have it in them and they don't develop that skill. So I always go back to school. Like my kids are in school, right? And I actually don't necessarily agree with school. And I got my master's because I think school shuts off that creative ability in kids. And I think that's what's so powerful about childhood and dreaming and creation and all of that, because they're just creating constantly. It's literally our godly power to create. And I think that a lot of adults push that down because they're so analytical, they have to do it a certain way. But if they actually pull back and, like what you said, they're actually in control and they learn how to create, that's when you change your life. 100%.
Absolutely. When did so we go back to you, 25 years old, credit card debt, lawsuit. When do you genuinely believe that you started to take control of your life?
You want me to be completely honest?
Please.
When we moved to Arizona 2 years ago, a year after I sold. 100%.
Tell me more. What was it like? This moment is when I took control. What makes you believe that?
I don't think it was a moment, but I think that, because it's interesting. Like when I sold, it's like we were building our dream house up in like here, Midway, Park City area. Dream house, beautiful 6,000 square foot house up there in the mountains, like beautiful. We were living up there, not a worry in the world. And it was honestly one of the most unhappy times in my life and my wife's life. And you think because we don't have a worry in the world, like how is that possible? And it's because we were still operating. We were going through a lot of this work, but we were still operating based off of other people's expectations, primarily our families, because our families lived around here, friends that lived around here, we were operating unconsciously based upon other people's expectations. And so we can never fully like embrace our own identity of who we wanted to be. So when we moved to Arizona, it gave us a fresh start to really that we get to decide and create the life we want to live, but not based upon other people's expectations. And so I would say that is probably the first time when it really felt like we're in control and we can literally create and do whatever we want to. So kind of unique.
That's fair. You talk about it being one of the hardest times in your life. What did that look like for you and your wife?
Oh, it was wake up every morning and trying to get a workout in. And then I'd sit at the computer and try and twiddle my thumbs and decide what I wanted to do today. And I would drive down here to South Jordan to go to Lifetime to sauna just because I had nothing to do. And then I would go back up. And that was my day, every day for a while. And there was no purpose. There was no meaning. And so it wasn't tough in the way you probably think. It was tough in the way there was no progression. We were not creating anything else. There was nothing. There was no meaning. There was no purpose. We were just literally existing. And that was terrible. So I always say like, I semi-retired, so to speak, or whatever. I will not, I used to everyone works to retire. Like the most successful people I know work because of the passion. The process is what they love. It's not about the outcome, right? Like you look at Elon Musk, dude doesn't need to work, but he's still working. Every day he goes to work. Why? It's the process he falls in love with. There's a higher purpose, right? And I think that's the part I missed was I was so focused on like the end that when you get there, it's like, well, now what? And then you lose all meaning, you lose purpose, you lose everything. And so it took us completely moving to start redefining what we wanted.
Yeah, have you ever read The 4-Hour Workweek?
A long time ago, yeah.
I'm reading that right now.
Okay.
It talks similar about you. Like, what is retirement? Like, why are we striving to retire? Usually retirement is an escape, is something that you don't want to do. Why not just build your life around what you love every single day to the point that you don't need to retire? And it's the concept that you're not fitting your life into your business or your life into your career. You're building your life and then you're fitting your business into your lifestyle.
And that goes back to like definitions. And again, like what you got to understand is like, I'm still in this process too. Okay. So like I say this stuff because I think that we always speak to our avatar, right? And so, but it's still a growing process. And so there's still this whole redefining process of how do I define terminology in my life and how do I constantly update it, right? And so the most recent thing that I've updated, see, and this was surprising. This goes back, I wish I had it on me, but Dude, I can't. It's a process, and this is something I would leave to you or anybody else, is it never stops. My wife made me a book 4 months ago, and she wrote it in a spiral back notebook, and it was the book of Dallin. Like, basically, like, it's time to, like, fully step into who you were meant to be and who you want to be and not hold back anymore, because I still was holding back. And so she wrote this whole, we call it a brand book. And it's just going through basically these limiting beliefs that I had and the fear and what's holding me back and da-da-da-da-da. And it was just like, I should show you this booklet, like a spiral bound notebook. And so I went through it and, filled it all out and started redefining terminology. But what I learned in that, because you think, oh, Dallin, cool. Like, you sold FitCon, you moved there, you did this, you did, I'm so like glad, like your success is awesome success, right? But I'm still struggling with it. What's my identity? What's holding me back from really stepping into my next level? And it started this last time I figured it out, it was permission. I feel like I always need somebody else's permission to accomplish anything, to do something. Like, I needed my wife's permission in order to start X, Y, and Z business. I need to run it by someone first before I can implement it. Like, I always need permission. And then you go back and find out, where did that belief start from? And it's fascinating. And so I think this is a continual process that we're constantly rediscovering what's holding us back from our full potential.
Absolutely. But you talk about God, the universe, whatever you believe in. There is no end. There's always something more to learn. There was always something more to accomplish. If you feel like you're to your end of becoming, that probably means you're close to being 6 feet under.
So it's interesting. So my belief, again, is creation is literally life. Creation is not only mortal life, but eternal life. Like, we never stop creating, right? God, who created this world, like, creates more, like, he creates. So who in their right mind thinks that after this life, we're going to stop creating? It's never going to stop. So if on this life you've stopped creating because you're tired of creating, like, it's never going to stop. So you got to learn to love the creation process, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. And it's unique to everybody.
It's unique to everybody.
What is it that you actually love? What are you naturally good at? How can you make an impact into this world?
What are hobbies? Hobbies are just another form of creation. You're just creating something else that you're interested in.
Absolutely.
Like, and so anyways, I think that's power, right? Well, what you just said is, like, creation doesn't stop.
No, you're always becoming somebody new.
And then what happens when people retire? They usually feel like they pass away pretty quickly, because what do? They stop creating. They just play golf every day and they just exist. But you look at, like, the presidents, they live till they're old. Why? Like, the people who are still working live longer. It's because they're still creating. Their mind is still fresh. I'm convinced. I have no data to support that, but I'm convinced.
Well, it keeps you healthy.
It does.
If you're not consistently pushing your limits, then what is the point?
Yeah.
Right? Natural psychology 101, your past beliefs create your thoughts create your emotions create your behaviors create your results. It's an endless cycle. And you'll stay with the same cycles for the rest of your life until you choose to opt out. And that same cycle, I talk about grandpa and dad. Grandpa lived by this cycle of belief patterns and thoughts and emotions and behaviors and results passed down to your dad, which was passed down to you. If you want a different reality, you have to opt out of those patterns and create new ones. And it's actually more simple than most people listening think it is. It is simple. Does it make it easy? No, but it's simple. And you can choose to execute it.
I like that, opt out. I use the term challenge, but I like opt out. I think it could be used both ways, because there's some belief patterns that you may want to keep, right?
But so that's where you challenge them.
You challenge them and then choose to opt out.
Exactly.
Or opt in.
Or opt in. And that when you challenge a belief pattern, whatever it may be, you're going to either see the truth, or you're going to see the truth of what you want to run away as far as possible away from.
So when we moved to Arizona, I should show you, my phone's over there, but we have my wife and I, a notes section of just like probably 100 different belief patterns that we could just think of, just like marriage to kids to money to like, we just spit out any and everything we could think of. And then one by one, we started challenging every belief. Is that our belief, or was that belief placed on us by somebody else? And if so, what do we believe? That's a powerful question right there. And so that's exactly it, is like list different belief patterns from school to marriage to work to whatever it may be, and then start challenging those beliefs individually and ask, is that what I believe? And if not, then what do I believe? And this is another thing that I will say, again, like guests on this podcast, Keaton, you know, even I would say Waylon is they've challenged beliefs, and they have non-negotiables, and they have standards. They've drawn this line in the sand. You draw the line in the sand, what that does is it tells your unconscious that this is what I'm choosing to believe. And there's power and authenticity in that. It's not someone else's belief. And that's what people are attracted to, and that's what creates real movement in life.
And the truth is, those standards, people will try to have you break them. They will push you to your limits, and you'll be the hardhead, the asshole, whatever you want to call it. But when you stick true to your standards, because you know who you are and who you're becoming and what you're going to create that tingle in your life, beautiful things happen. We talked about going back to the tingle, sticking true to your standards. I started this podcast about 3 years ago. When I first started, I used to dream. I mean, let me just emphasize the dream part of looking at podcasts that had you on it, Keaton, Sean, like some of these big guys that have created success that I used to dream about. I thought it would take way longer to have even you or Sean or Keaton on my podcast than 2 years. It's like when you see that tingle and you align every single day with that, you challenge your belief patterns to decide what to opt into or opt out of. Success comes sooner than you know.
And it's interesting. So this is going to go back to that. Well, first follow-up question. In that 2 years, like, yeah, I'm sure it's tough to keep going on podcasts, but getting these guests, was it difficult?
At first, not anymore.
Not anymore, right? And that's the interesting part, is when you tingle about it and you know, like, that process becomes much easier and it's not as much of a grind, and it usually happens faster than you think. Number one. Number two is, you said that when I saw this, I wanted my podcast to be successful by getting X guests on there, right? So you defined your podcast as successful when you get X guests, right? And that's beautiful. So now it's time to redefine that. Now what my podcast is, when is it successful? What happens? And that's the redefining process that you need to align with from a tingle perspective. And, you know, is it to monetize it? I don't know, but is it to grow it? I don't know how many views you get, but the other interesting part is, how many views do you get on here? I don't even know.
A couple thousand.
Yeah. So not tons, right? Good for like a podcast, but like for guys like Keaton and other guys who have millions and millions of followers, like it doesn't do anything to necessarily serve them from a promotional standpoint to hop on your podcast, but they still did it. Why? And I think it's because of your non-negotiables and your standards and what you're trying to accomplish. And most people who are successful want to help people who are ambitious in what they're doing. And so I think once you remove the fear of asking these big bad guys of X, Y, and Z, and you just start doing it, it's going to happen. They respect it.
Yeah. I used to get nervous, right? Meeting like that person that I used to look up to.
Yeah.
The hero. Sorry. My mouth keeps getting dry. I used to get nervous, but now I don't. It's not because I'm better than. Like, we're all equals. We're all human beings. We're all along this journey called life. And the reality is we're all just all human. We're all just people. And you're right. For the longest time, I'm like, I'll be successful when? I'll be successful here in life when I accomplish this. It's just been recent, man, where I just genuinely feel, in lack of better terms, like a badass. Like, this podcast is actually really freaking good.
It's awesome.
And 3 years, I can't imagine what the next 3 years are going to bring. Like, I am successful now.
But it's interesting too, because like you said, you're still working 9 to 5. So from a lot of people's definition of success, they're like, well, your podcast's not successful because you still have your job. That's such a terrible way of thinking. Like, and again, it comes back to our definitions, because like, and this is where I would challenge you of what's next is, okay, what can I align with and redefine my next terminology of success? Because you're already there of your current definition of success. You're already there, man. You're impacting several thousands of people a day on your podcast. You're having some of the biggest guests with millions of followers come in and do your podcast. You're already impacting yourself, your family, and the world to some extent. Like, what your definition of success, you've already accomplished it, right? But until you start to redefine that and align with it, that's when the next step happens.
Absolutely. That's when it becomes in alignment, and it happens seamlessly.
Effortlessly. Doesn't mean there's no work. You still got to do the podcast.
It's a choice, and I'm in control.
Yeah. But the work is effortless. The work is aligned. The work is seamless. It's kind of like swimming with the current versus against the current, right? When you're not aligned, you're swimming against the current. When you're aligned, you're swimming with the current, right? It's the same distance. It's your choice if you want to swim against it or with it. And you wonder where burnout happens? It's because they're swimming against the current every single day.
And that's tiring. I'm sure you know what that feels like.
So that's why I always say business and life and everything comes down to your state, your goals, what I like to call your tingle, because I don't like the word goals. Your tingle, your state, your tingle, and your alignment. Those three are aligned, and you're in an abundant state, and you're grounded, and you have the humility, and you got the gratefulness, right? You tingle daily. Every single day you tingle. You wake up just tingling because you can see your dreams and your reality so clearly, and you're aligned with it. The work necessary to accomplish that is very easy and effortless.
So you transform your beliefs. You start to figure out your tingles. You get more tingles. What comes next?
After that, you just compounding tingles, man.
Just keep compounding.
That's the beauty of life. You wonder why someone like Keaton has such a beautiful life. It's because literally he compounds tingles. Like, and that goes back to the other thing. When people accomplish a goal, then they stop. They're halted, like I did. I sold my company. I was halted, right? The skill is how quickly can you tingle? And then how quickly can you tingle again and again? And then how quickly can you compound it? Can you have multiple tingles, right? Because no one wants to live life where you wake up and you say, okay, I got a dream, but I don't know how to accomplish it. Or it's so far removed that I don't even believe I can do it, right? No. Why do guys like Keaton, myself and others, wake up fired up? Because they believe so real that whatever they can do, they're going to tingle, and it's so exciting to them. And they've released every limiting belief possible, so anything is possible. If they wanted to be a firefighter, they could. If they wanted to live in Europe, they could. If they wanted to start this business, they could. Like, the beauty is tingling and waking up tingling. That's what brings beauty to life. And I think people, especially adults, have pushed that kid characteristic down for so long, they forgot how to dream and forgot how to tingle. So what happens? You're stuck in the systemic cycle of life, which is wake up, go to work, be with my family. Same thing, over and over and over and over until you're retired. And then what do? You sit out and play golf every day.
And then you die.
The joy is tingling, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter whether it's Disneyland or a Ferrari or running SpaceX. It doesn't matter. And that's where it comes down to, we're all human. Is people think they need to dream a certain way because someone else did it, and it's not true. If you could really focus on what makes you tingle, you're going to move the needle in your life so much faster than believing you have to buy a Ferrari because Keaton bought a Ferrari the other day. Right?
Absolutely.
Maybe your tingle is going to the park and fishing with your kids more often. I don't know. But whatever it is, tingle. And then find your next tingle. And this is incremental process of growth.
Absolutely. You talk about tingling more often as possible. Waking up, tingling. Your morning sets your day up for success, but what sets your morning up for success is the day after. What is your nighttime routine and your morning routine to ensure that you set yourself up?
Nothing. It's the biggest load of crap ever.
Nothing.
anyone who says I shouldn't say the nighttime routine, but anybody who says they need a morning routine and that's why they're successful should be kicked. It's a belief pattern. It's not true. And I'm sorry if you do. I religiously, for 2.5 years, woke up at 4:30 every morning on the dot. I would go out, I would stretch, and I would study and read for an hour. Then I would go work out, cold plunge or do whatever for another hour because I'm ready to go by 7 a.m. to get my day going. 2 years straight, 2.5 years straight. By the time 11 a.m. came around, I was so exhausted and tired because all of my creative side, all of my flow state was in the morning and I exhausted it all. So by the time noon came around and 2 came around, I was so tired the rest of my day was shot. But I was told I had to have a morning routine, okay? I went nowhere. I went backwards for 2 years, okay? Now what I do, I don't set an alarm. I have no preconceived idea of what I'm going to do in the morning. I don't set an alarm. I let my body get the full amount of sleep, what my body needs. I wake up in the morning. Usually it's about 4:30 to 5 still, because that's just when my body wakes up. I go to bed at like 8:30, 9. And then I wake up and I just let the universe take me to what I'm going to do. So if my best work comes from 5 a.m. till 10 a.m., I go ham and I just go work. If I'm not in a creative state, I'll go on a walk maybe. If I feel like I need to go hot tub, I'll go start a hot tub and go hot tub. I have zero plans in the morning. I'm very, very, very present. And wherever I feel like I can become, like I focus on my state more than I do the actions. Whatever I can do to create that state of abundance and creativity, that's what I focus on. If it's working out, I'll go work out. If I go on a run, it's going on a run. If it's talking to my wife for an hour and a half and just having coffee and just chilling, we do that. Whatever it may be, I have propelled so much further doing that than any other routine or setting up. Now, the one non-negotiable I do have is I have to wake up to a clean house. So if the night before, like the house is dirty, we clean it up nicely. So yeah, I guess that's the one thing.
That's
so I would argue if if you wake up and you have a routine and do everything, you're wasting valuable time. Get to work. Get to work.
That's fair. So I feel like when it comes to morning routines, this is my hot take. Either people have morning routines or they don't. I feel like there's a middle ground. For example, every morning, non-negotiable pray. I do work out every morning, and I do take a cold shower every morning. So I don't extend my morning routine to be like this 2 hours. Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. And then I have to go through my entire day. It does sound exhausting. But as I mentioned before in the podcast, motion equals emotion. Praying makes me feel good.
That's it.
Taking a cold shower makes me feel good. So even when I don't feel like taking a cold shower, I do it because it makes me feel good.
But I'm gonna change that because again, this is what makes you feel good. I think it comes down to the intention behind it.
Sure.
You're doing it because other people say you should do it, and that's what you got to do. That's when it's unaligned, and that's when it's hard. That's what I was doing.
Beautiful.
Right?
I would agree.
Now I wake up and it's what do I want to do? If I want to go take a cold shower, if I want to pray, it's my choice. You put yourself in an abundant state of choice.
Absolutely.
And that's the difference. Right. And I should have probably prefaced that by saying, but I run into so many people who are like, I have to do this, and this in the morning by the time I even do it because X, Y, and Z told me so. And no, again, that's just living someone else's dreams.
1000%. In my book, The Code of Transformation, which this one's yours, came out today, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
I talk about this. I think it is very crucial that people have certain standards in their morning of what they do out of choice. I do share my morning routine in there. Not saying you should do mine, to say you should figure out what works for you, and then you do that.
Yeah.
Because
have you heard of Jeff Bezos' morning routine?
I haven't, no.
What do you think it is?
Cup of coffee and get to work.
He piddle paddles. He says, I wake up and I piddle paddle in the morning. That's all he does.
But
it works for him. And that's it. It's like,
that's it.
it's what he does. And I found that that's better to me. I found that I'm a morning person and I am most creative in the mornings. And so I was wasting that time on stuff that I thought I should be doing. But in reality, like my best work and my most creative work comes from the hours of 4:30 a.m. till 8 a.m. And so I was utilizing that beauty of time for other purposes that didn't serve me.
Absolutely.
So it's all about understanding your own body and you making your own decisions of what's the best for you.
And then doing it.
And then doing it.
Because sometimes you may not feel like doing it. And sometimes it's okay not to do certain things. I mean, I go on vacation. It's not like I like working out in the morning. But sometimes it also feels good to have a cup of coffee and just sit and talk with your wife too. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's the crucial part is people say, I have to do X, Y, Z, then I'll be enough. That's a made up rule. You don't have to do X, Y, Z to be enough. If you have, for example, for me, I have my general morning routine, my non-negotiables that takes 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If I don't want to do it one morning because I'm on vacation, that's okay.
And the interesting part is, again, we're talking linguistics here. Your non-negotiables is I do that. My non-negotiables is I do nothing. Like it's the same principle. It's still non-negotiable. And that's the beauty of this is it doesn't matter. But what matters is you strip off those limiting beliefs and those preconceived notions of what needs to happen and you come up with your own rules.
Exactly.
And when you start living by your own rules, that's when the power of confidence comes in your life.
But make them your own. You have control.
Yeah.
Don't just cold plunge every morning because this guru over here says to do it.
If you wake up and you do that and that's what makes you feel great and it energizes you, do it. But you're right. If it's the intention behind it is not yours, that's where you're living an authentic life.
Amen, man.
So,
well, as we come to a close here, I have a couple quick questions for you. What is your
it's like, I'm going to dive deep. Probably.
Yeah, I'll take it if you do. What is your definition of an authentic life?
Ooh, I've never defined that. That's good. I'm going to just tap into my unconscious here and just say what first thing comes to my mind. My definition of an authentic life is playing your own game, is not comparing yourself to others, is you're worried about your own happiness or success and you're not worried about others. That's my unconscious definition. I've never consciously defined that. It's a very good question.
It's a very good answer, though.
Yeah,
I would challenge you to think about that.
No, let me know. Great. I think too, living an authentic life, just coming off, is setting non-negotiables and standards and not dipping below those, because you're setting life on your terms, your own terms.
Absolutely.
That's a good question. I'm going to ponder that. See, this is just a process.
Please let me know what you think.
Yeah, I will.
And for these young entrepreneurs out here looking to accomplish their own definition of success, as well as becoming their authentic self, what's one last piece of advice you'd leave for them?
Tingle daily. Above work, above hustle, tingle. It sounds counterintuitive, sounds different, but the more you tingle, the more you align, the faster you'll accomplish your goals. It's when it happens and you start manifesting stuff and it happens over and over again and you're like, so for instance, I'll give you an example. I bought FitCon. So I sold FitCon. I bought it back in August and I got back into it. I'm like, oh, man, I don't feel aligned on this. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm like, I would love for someone to buy this because like, I don't want to run it this year. But I'm like, who? It makes no sense. And I know nobody who would be interested in buying FitCon before August of this next year. Like, who would ever buy a business where the event's coming up in 8 months, right? And like, so I'm like, all right, I got to buckle it up. But if anyone did buy it, I would do it. And I aligned with it. And I just felt like I'm going to manifest it and I'm going to just put it out there and just, hey, I'm going to tingle about someone buying FitCon. I got a call out of the blue on January 1st, like a month later, out of the blue. I could show you the texts of it saying, hey, this is so-and-so, basically kind of random, but would you ever consider selling Fitcon? And this is a guy I would have never considered to buy it. I wouldn't even thought he would be able to. Randomly sent me that text, and in 1 week had completed the sale back to him. When that happens over and 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 over again, you start to realize the hustle method sucks.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So how does that happen? It's gratitude, it's being present, it's tingling daily, and it's aligning to that tingle, and then putting in the work.
Yeah, it's what goes to this, and this last thing I'll leave here is a lot of people live for vacation, just like a lot of people live for retirement. Retirement, if you live for that, is a very short period of your lifetime. It's a very short percentage, as well as your vacations. Your daily, whether you hate a specific thing in your day that's 10 minutes long, an hour long, whatever it is, you're living it every day. Fix it. Change it. If you're not liking doing something, stop doing it. It's not to say you're always going to feel like doing something, but when you genuinely despise something in your day, do whatever you need to fix it, because you will enjoy life a hell of a lot more. When you tingle daily and you actually enjoy this thing called life, it's seamless.
But when you're not tingling and you're not dreaming, it's really hard to enjoy life.
Absolutely. Yeah, we all deserve a good life, but we don't all get a good life because we don't all work for that good.
I guess it comes down to what you define a good life. I guess a good life is having what your needs are and a little extra to take some vacations. Then sure, that's not a good life to me.
No, not at all.
But what I'll fight anybody on is if the people who tingle daily maximize and live a fulfilled life. There's a difference in a good life and a fulfilled life.
Absolutely.
So
love it, man. What can me and my audience be doing for you?
No, not at all, man.
Just win.
Tingle daily.
Tingle daily.
Just tingle daily.
I appreciate it, man. And truly thank you for coming on. It's been an honor. Thanks for listening to the Journey to Authenticity podcast today. If you liked what both myself and Dallin had to say today, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. This helps to ensure that we get the most interesting and highly qualified guests to help you transform your life. Also, why I have you here, as we're recording this, we launched the Code of Transformation March 31st. This book is all about embracing your life fully, building the life of transformation that me and Dallin talked about today. So if you haven't, don't sleep under a rock. Go get your book, The Code of Transformation, to transform your life. Have a good one, everybody.